All right, knowing what you know, what do you think about youth and gang violence?
You know what gang violence is? Mostly, and the people don't want you to hear this, somebody shoots your family member. So of course you retaliate. You know what I mean? Same thing the US does, except nobody even shot their family members. You know, they see somebody bomb a school and all these people get killed, so the United States feel like, ooh, that's messed up, we gotta go show them who's the real killers. That's the same mentality these gangsters get. You know what I mean? So until they stop that mentality, we won't stop. Or they won't stop because they watch this country to see what they do. I think this country was built on gangs. You know, I think this country still is run on gangs. Republicans, Democrats, the police department, the FBI, the CIA, those are gangs. You know what I mean? So I believe that it's the community that needs to do something about it. I do believe that there's a piece of liability on the drug dealers and the gangsters and the gangs and all of that, but these are not scholars. You know what I mean? This government is not doing anything to stop it. When the people in LA, after the rebellion, when we stopped and there was a truce, nothing happened. Did we get any jobs? No. Did we get any relief? No. But every time there's a flood, an earthquake, or a thunderstorm, America will give mad millions to somebody because their house broke down. They don't care if we stop the violence or not. They don't care about gang violence. You know what I mean? Every time that Bosnia gets shot up, any place gets shot up, they send them a whole bunch of millions in food and packages from Somalia, everywhere. Everybody getting food but us. I can't tell nobody who's hungry what to do. I want to say stop the violence. I want to say the violence ain't good. And they know
Why
it's
can't
not
you
good.
say that then?
Because that's not realistic. I know it's not good. If anybody speak up against violence, it'll be the brother that got shot 5 times. I got shot twice in my hair, all up in. Trust me, violence ain't cool. And they know violence ain't cool. Ain't nobody out there with a gun saying it's cool to be shooting people. It's just, you know, it's certain situations where there is no way out. But there are situations where we can find a way out. But until we find that way out, we can't say not to live this lifestyle.
Hello everybody, my name is Kees. I'm your goofy co-pilot on Spaceship Earth. And in this Zeit-Talks series I would like to talk about a different train of thought, mainly about systemic thinking. And this train of thought is very important because many of our problems today are rooted in how we organize society. And I would like to talk about things that may be able to change this. And that's why I also want to focus on building a community and not just an audience, one that wants to really make a difference. And yeah, that's really important because humanity may break or make it this century. And I know that sounds very dramatic, but there's a lot of research pointing towards, for example, 2050, where biodiversity loss, climate change, and water scarcity may all come together and maybe the perfect cocktail for disaster. And I know it sounds a little bit idealistic, but I think on a personal level, we may be able to influence this prediction in a positive way, but also in a group, not just individualistic, in an individualistic way. And just as a thought exercise, many science fiction movies about time travel are about when they travel back in time, they're super worried about influencing the future because the small things might be able to have dramatic changes on the future. And I think we should more think today about what we can do to make a better future, because we do have that influence as long as we do the right thing. But then, of course, what's the right thing and what to do? So I think it's therefore also important to form a group mind, a group of people that wants to bring about a revolution of ideas. So it's about a resource pool of people that actually wants to make a difference. It's not about people that are all like-minded and all agree with each other. Critical thought is very important. That's why I call it a group mind. It's like, making the best of many different ideas. So we need to explore together what kind of direction we should take as a society. And hopefully with enough voices, we can maybe influence the cultural zeitgeist and then hopefully influence those dramatic predictions for the future. So yeah, going back to the interview that you just saw in the introduction video, that was from Tupac, and that was maybe 30 years ago. But as you could see, I was able to edit in footage from today in the situations he was talking about 30 years ago. So that could give you an indication that nothing meaningful has changed the past 30 years. Of course, we made relevant advances in science and technology, and also society has evolved. But the root causes for example, corruption, war, disease, poverty, they're still there. And as an example, Tupac talked about, for example, the polarity within society, where everyone has to compete with each other, even local gangsters, but also the big organizations, not only in government, but also in corporations. But also between countries, like he said, that they blocked off Cuba because they disagreed with them and they had a conflict. We see the same thing today with Russia. Well, the list goes on and on about the similarities, and most of it is rooted into how we organize society. What kind of behavior do we reward in this economic system? And that's mostly cartel behavior or individualistic behavior. So, for example, we compete for labor so we can have an income, but also corporations compete with each other to increase their profits or secure their profits for the future. And countries do the same thing, and we also see the same negative outcomes in that, in terms of corruption and greed. So, I was talking about building a community and forming this group mind, and talking about monitoring the world and what kind of signals are there in the world, what kind of solutions could we apply. So I've made a forum for that. This is one example. There are of course many topics on this forum. I will go through a few topics on this forum and talk about how they relate to the interview that Tupac did. So this one is, for example, about income inequality and human development. So a brief quote from this research paper from the 99% and the 1%. So income inequality plays a negative role in human development in any country, irrespective of its HDI level, Human Development Index. The increasing income inequality that is happening all over the world, including developed countries, may lead to deterioration in human development. So it's really important that we keep income inequality in check with what we actually want to see in the world. If we keep promoting this system where it's more about individual success instead of the larger community, we still have these issues in the long run and short term as well. So this could be defined as something that's called structural violence. And that refers to any scenario in which a social structure perpetuates inequity, thus causing preventable suffering. When studying structural violence, we examine the ways that social structures, economic, political, medical, and legal systems can have a disproportionately negative impact on particular groups in communities. And I have some more examples of structural violence. And in this Zeit-Talks series, I will talk more about this as well. So this is, for example, pollution. So this young girl had a severe case of asthma, but that severe case of asthma was worsened by the environment she grew up in. And it was an environment close to a highway. So I'm just speculating here. They lived close to the highway because that's what they could afford. And they knew, of course, the health effects because they went to the doctor several times, but they were not able to afford a better place. So you have this socioeconomic situation where they suffer because of their income and their social status in society. So this girl died. And she's not the only one. So the World Health Organization, for example, states that air pollution kills an estimated 7 million people worldwide every year. So this structural violence has an effect on our health, but also on our environment, which of course we depend on. Then another example, so this is about cancer. Dr. Samuel Broder, former director of the National Cancer Institute, stated that socioeconomic status is extremely important to identify and monitor cancer. So they actually now relate these severe diseases with the economic status that people have in society and their prospects in there. So to finish off with something more light, the next few episodes will be more specific about certain topics. This one is a little bit all over the place. It's just to give you a general impression of what Zeit-Talks will be about and what the format is. So this one is a little bit, dark humor perhaps. This is a screenshot from CNN, where they have the fear and greed index. So they have this gauge going from extreme fear, which is considered bad. Well, I think everyone will agree on that. And then you have extreme greed, which is considered good because it has a nice green light. So taking advantage of other people and investing in infinite growth, because that's what GDP is. It's also GDP, the economic growth of a country, is also in the green light when you are constantly growing, and that means constantly producing, constantly selling. So if you constantly buy and consume and then throw away, you're doing good business. And if you're very greedy at that, so you also maybe be a little bit corrupt, then that's also a good thing. And as you can see, if we have this fear and greed index, we can also assume or maybe conclude that our economic system is now not really based on science. It's more based on emotion and speculation. So no wonder it's that unstable. It crashes every 10 years or something. So I think we could do better, right, by today's standards. So, like I said, this is a forum. Anyone can sign up. And there are a number of topics here that you can join the discussion, and maybe I will talk about your topic in the next episode. There are a few categories here, like activism, it's about doing stuff on a local level, then train of thought, that's about mostly topics like I just discussed. And then there are several other categories. I will not go into every category, but for example, you also have access, which these 5 tags here are about economic trends that could help us evolve into a more open and fair economy. So access is, for example, about transitioning property and ownership to strategic access. Then you have localization, where you transition from globalization to localization. So a network designed to minimize waste and maximize productivity. Then you, for example, also have open source, which is the transition from proprietary research, data hoarding, and internal development to more collaborative means of doing that. Then we have automation, which is about doing more with less, so increase efficiency and reduce human exposure to labor. And then we have digital feedback, which is basically about creating a digital twin of the Earth. And instead of having the political system where everything is also based on emotion, it's more based on this digital twin where you can actually monitor and predict how our resources are managed and how we should take more conscious decisions about that. So it's not based on what your opinion is, but really based on the facts. And combined with those other economic trends like open source and access, it's something that everyone can contribute to and help improve that system. But more on that in consecutive episodes. For now, I would like to ask you to go to this website, tcm.one, and if you want to check out the chapters map, that's also a very good idea. So I'm from the Zeitgeist movement, and this website is also from the Zeitgeist movement, and we are a grassroots movement organized into chapters, and chapters are local branches of this organization. So if you, for example, go to Netherlands, you can find it here in the search bar, or in its interactive map you can zoom into, for example, the Netherlands. Maybe your country is listed here already. If it's not, then sign up on the forum and leave a comment here with your website, which can be a fancy one with all the information like this one. We have information about how to sign up and how to get involved and when there are meetings and where, and more information like that. Or you can just have a social media page like most chapters have. which is also more easier to make and maintain. But the goal is mainly to have your own landing page where people can find you and connect and talk to you in your native language, because this forum is mostly focused on the international level. It's like a digital square where all these chapters can interact and improve their train of thought and also their way of doing activism. So that's it, basically, in a nutshell, this episode. So feel free to join this website, and yeah, hopefully I will see you there. And yeah, like I said, please go to tcm.one, and if you're Dutch, you can go to zeitgeistbeweging.nl. So in the future, I also have guests on the show, because 2 brain cells are better than 1. And those people might also have a more critical view on the train of thought advocated in this show, and also the economic trends that I also discussed here. So I think it will be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. And for now, I thank you for your time and see you in the next one.